How's it going, everybody? Sorry for the late start, but I am Kyle from Fantasy Forge Studios, and we are joined by both of our players here for some D&D 5e Eriador Adventures in Middle-earth. I'm very excited to jump right back in. As those of you who are returners maybe do know, is we have two Adventures in Middle-earth campaigns that are going on right now. It's a D&D 5e campaign set in the world of Middle-earth. It takes place between the years of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and we have two of them. We have one that is west of the Misty Mountains, which is this one, Eriador Adventures, and then on alternating weeks we have Adventures in Middle Earth, Wilderland Adventure, which is taking place east of the Misty Mountains. So the two campaigns are running conjointly in the same year, same time frames. But this is episode 4 of Eriador Adventures, which is kind of crazy. But our adventurers have just battled a bunch of dudes, and they are meeting for the first time. Before we go too much into recap, let's go ahead and have our adventurers introduce themselves. I can go ahead and start with Caleb here. So Caleb here is, and almost nearly died last session, but is the DMPC that will be adventuring with the group, the party. He is a man of Gondor, so he is a man of Dol Amroth, and he is the captain of the Silver Swan Court. And so nobody really knows why he is up in Eriador and so far from home, but he is, and he is basically a man of honor, a man of justice, and yeah, he's thick. He's definitely the tank of the group at this point. He was deflecting blows, taking hits like no one's business, but that's what he does. So that's Caleb here.
Yeah, pretty sure anyone except for Glorfindel would have died in that situation.
Mr. Dude
Valen
with
definitely
plate,
would have, yeah.
Mr. Dude with plate armor, great shield, literally has everything in his pocket in order to not die, but he was very, very close. It was good that both Glorfindel and Kyrian came to his rescue, because that could have been really bad. And it was almost really bad. But let's go ahead and move on to our next character, Valenith.
Sorry, I'm turning off ads. Hello, everyone. My name is Forged Ordain here at Fantasy Forge Studios, and I play the character Valenith. He is a high elf of Rivendell, and he is the scholar of the group, meaning in D&D terms, he's kind of like the healer. So he's got some heals, and he used almost all of them on young Estel, little Aragorn, for the adventure. He used 3 of his 4 on him. And yeah, he's good. He's having fun. No, he's a fancy pants. He likes all things nice. He's very much an elf of Rivendell, and he loves the Hidden Valley, where the secret recipe lives.
Very cool.
It's true.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Absolutely. Thank you for the subscription, Britt. And Australian, you did not hear me wrong. He is a pretty darn good tank. He works differently, very differently from the way that the Slayers work in the Wilderland Adventure, is where the Slayers, they reduce damage based off of their rages. Caleb here, literally all he does is he's thick, heavy armor, and he has a couple abilities that, like, once per round he can, like, increase his essentially his AC. It's just disgusting. He can, like, I think once per combat round, he can go up to a 21 on his AC. And so that's, for most people at level 4, that's pretty much negating one attack for the most part. So that's pretty strong early on. But he also doesn't receive half damage from attacks like the Slayers do. So you guys are thick, and you're survivors. But anyways, our last character of this campaign, we have Kyrian.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cole, and I play Kyrian, the coolest, most rugged Dunedain you ever did see in this adventure. And yeah, he's kind of mysterious. He's kind of, a man of the wild, and he protects those in Eriador from the enemy, the shadow. and has taken an oath to take out the Shadow, specifically any organized leadership within Eriador. So
Sweet.
that's him.
So with this being episode 4, not a lot has happened as far as recap goes. However, all of these adventurers, one way or another, have made their way into the hidden valley where the secret ranch sauce is kept, of Imladris. And they, as they do so for their own reasons, they all came upon a battle that was happening, a battle between a hill troll and a number of orcs. This normally would be a challenge beyond that of many, as this is a orc group that was dressed and armored and geared as if a war band. They had heavy armor. They had a commander captain, and they also had a hill troll, which those who don't know, hill trolls are a little bit better than stone trolls, primarily the fact that hill trolls can actually go out in the sunlight and not suffer from the effects of that. And so they don't turn to stone when the sunlight hits them, but they are bigger and stronger. And as we saw, Glorfindel, so there's kind of like the 3 separate strands. We're unsure why Calefir is there, but he was there. Kyrian is on his way to Imladris with news of some potential plans for the Hidden Valley of Imladris, with a note to deliver to Lord Elrond. And then Valineth started already in Rivendell, but him and Estel were summoned by Glorfindel to go hunt down an orc party that was basically encroaching upon the lands of Rivendell. And so they went to go deal with the issue. And it all culminated into this insane battle where orcs were slain, trolls were slain, and people nearly died, being Estel primarily and Calefir. So,
And then did Glorfindel? He took 1 hit, right, the entire time.
Yeah. Glorfindel took 1 hit. I think he took like 4 points of damage, so that's good.
And he took. Yeah. I think he killed 90% of the dudes, including the hill troll. He just soloed everyone.
Well,
true.
You know, he also.
Hey, I killed like 2 or 3.
That's true.
And Valineth was spending all of his time making sure that Estel stayed alive.
I killed 1 person.
Die.
Estel killed like
a couple.
Yeah, I think he got 4.
Yeah.
He did solo. He had basically, like in the RPG, like the guy with like the hand is just like, I will give you healing. Just fight. Fight for as long as you can. So, but these orcs were thick. But also, I didn't introduce myself, but I'm Kyle. I'm the lore master. I'm playing both with and against these players as they adventure through Middle Earth, making an impact, narrating their stories to see how they, well, save the world, hopefully, from the encroaching shadow that is coming in the lands of Eriador, but Middle Earth on a broader scale. Without further ado, I can go ahead and set the scene, and we'll jump right back in. I know there was a few audio issues and whatnot at the end of our last Eriador adventures. However, the group had saved Calefir. Everybody had rejoined and regrouped up by this very, very wounded and damaged man of Gondor. Glorfindel did what he could to be able to stabilize him with his elven magic, and but he is still in rough shape. He has open wounds, just gaping wounds, and his armor is like basically like half fallen off, as he had just withstood a number of blows with basically his shield and his armor doing what they could to be able to protect him. But as the group went around and began introducing themselves, both Kyrian and Calefir, they look at this young boy who is beside Valineth. From the looks of it, he looks to be young, no older than a mere teenager. but he is holding this longsword, and he seems to be like huffing, and he's pretty damaged and wounded too. Definitely some open wounds and gashes there. But as the two of them, Valineth and Estel, approach, introductions are made. And I think last time we had already done the introductions, but as you look to identify these two individuals, particularly Estel, Kyrian, one thing that you find is he is clearly of Dunedain lineage. Unknowing exactly who this child is, it's not unheard of to have young Dunedain be in the presence of elves in Rivendell. It's actually pretty customary for that to happen. With that being the case, you probably don't think one way or another as this being Aragorn. For that.
Cool.
But Calefir, he does mention, he looks at you, he's like, very interesting. I've traveled all the way from the south, and I didn't think that I would be able to see a man of Gondor, a young man of Gondor. Tell me, what is your name, and where do you hail from? Estel, he looks at Calefir confused. I'm going to have both Valineth and Kyrian go ahead and make insight checks for me.
Insight.
Nice.
Insight. First rolls. Let's hopefully improve upon last.
I can only go up from here.
It's so bad. Insight. I was like, skills. I gotta roll it on my
4.
phone. All right.
Nat 1 for a 4.
Okay, 23 for Valid.
So Kyrian, the one thing that just kind of is you in your mind, you see him as a Dunedain, so you think like, of course he's related to the men of the South. We're kindred essentially. So that's kind of like what you're thinking of. But Valineth, as you look at Estel, you can see that he shifts around a little bit uncomfortable, but he is abjectly confused by these words. And he says, I'm sorry, my lord. My name is Estel. I hail from Eriador, and I currently live, and he looks to Glorfindel and looks back at Calefir, in Rivendell, in Ladris. I've never traveled to Gondor, but, and then he just stops. He doesn't say anything.
Aren't you a little young to be fighting with orcs like this? Is this your chaperone? Come on, elf, you should probably know better.
Pardon me. I think young Estel held himself up quite well. Speaking of which, welcome to the hidden valley of Imladris. I see we're in the presence of a Dunedain. Wow, impressive. And a man of Gondor, it seems. I could ask the same of you. What did you say your name was? Calefir? Hailing all the way from Gondor. What are you doing up here in the eaves of the Misty Mountain?
Well, let's just say that is a story for, and he, as he holds his, kind of his side, you can see that there's an open, gaping wound, where his armor has been cut loose, and he's like, I think that's a story for the road. He looks to Glorfindel, and he nods, and he says, thank you for the aid. And to all of you, I don't think I would have survived much longer past this day if all of you hadn't come to my rescue. I do think that fate has a funny way of bringing kindred hearts together. I can see that the lot of you are good people, men of justice.
You survived longer than most would have.
I'm honored to be in all of your presence.
Lend you an arm. And I'll put my arm around him. Also, Kyle Loremaster, you're slightly out of focus.
Oh, no.
Slight blurred.
Thank you so much for that.
I thought it was just my bad eyes playing tricks on me. Kyle, you gotta do this. Kyle, you gotta do this.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Oh yeah, me and all my radiant glory. But as you put your arm around Calefir, kind of winces a little bit in pain, but he pats you on the back, and as he does so, you could just hear his armor clinking, just kink, kink, kink. He does not seem to be someone who is dressed for travel, that's for sure. But he looks to you and says, many of the men of the north that I have encountered on my journeys up here. And he falls down to his knee as he is just like struggling to even breathe at this point. Well, let's just say they're the unsavory sorts. Is there any place that I can go to? He takes one deep breath. Find a little, and he falls unconscious on the ground. He's not bleeding out. He's stabilized from the elven magic, but Glorfindel, he kind of is just like staring kind of at the whole situation. Rather stoically, but he looks to Caliphyr and he bends down and he kind of like pats him on the back a little bit and he says, well, Caliphyr should be fine, but my magic can only do so much. It staunches bleeding, it restores vigor, particularly in the fray of battle. But he is going to need some surgery. He's going to need to be looked at, perhaps by the skilled hands of Lord Elrond. And he nods over to you, Kyrian. Kyrian, I'm curious. Have you on occasion met Glorfindel, or is this your first time meeting Glorfindel?
I think last time we established this was my first. Well, I think it's my first time meeting him, but
okay, but you know of him. Everybody knows of him.
I mean, I've met Elrond.
Yeah, for sure.
I imagine. Yeah.
But like, he looks over to you, Kyrian, and he says, "It's not uncommon to see the Dunedain here in this region. But you're alone, are you? Do you have word of something? Do you have news for our lord?"
I certainly do. Otherwise, believe me, I wouldn't be on my way to the Hidden Valley and its ranches.
He looks at you as almost as if attempting to insight at you, and he just stares at you. You don't notice any. Actually, I'm gonna have you make an insight check for me. This is gonna be at disadvantage.
Okay, well, I can't do any worse.
Can Valineth sense an odd hint from Kyrian as well?
6.
From Kyrian, or
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
based off of how he
make an insight check
that.
against Kyrian.
Yeah. Why does he hate the Hidden Valley? Everyone loves it.
Yeah, delicious. But
Mayo can't do it.
He stares at
Luck's turned around.
He stares. Glorfindel stares at Kyrian for a moment, a hot second, and he says, "I understand. Your purpose may be your own, but if you do need to speak to the Lord, I will be more than happy to escort everybody back to Imladris." Valineth, you can sense that there is a kind of almost like an uncomfortableness coming from Kyrian. And it's not super hidden. He's kind of just like wearing it right on his shoulder.
That's
in that
all my
case.
nat 20 gets me.
I don't know. I don't want to reveal too much about Kyrian. But that was a nat 20.
You now know Kyrion's entire
nat
backstory
20.
because of the
Valineth's variant.
Yes, from what you do know of Valineth, there are a number of Dunedain that come to and from Rivendell. A lot of them don't seem to linger too long. One of the reasons for that is you know and understand the effects of Rivendell. It's a safe haven for all of those who are weak and injured, but it also has a way, especially in the hearts of men, of breeding complacency. By staying too long, especially Dunedain begin to question and forget their duty. The best that you can tell is it probably has something to do with this, why he doesn't want to go to Rivendell, but you're still kind of unsure. You can't insight his past, but you can insight from what you know based off of the Dunedain. So
cool. Well, Valinith will kind of go over and help the group get Caliphyr up, and he'll mention over to Kieran and says, "Pardon my rudeness. My name is Valinith, son of Morbeth. I come from the wonderful valley of Imladris. If it wasn't for you showing up last minute, I'm afraid this chap would be just a bloody pile on the ground. So I thank you for coming and helping him out."
You talking to me or him?
You.
Oh.
Caliphyr is done for. Caliphyr is passed out.
No, I meant like Glorfindel.
Oh no. No.
I'm not sure how much I helped, but when a brother is in need, I am always happy to lend aid.
Well, it's good in these dark times to have allies and friends, even if they are unseen and unexpected. I did see, however, that wonderful, glorious, wonderfully fine crafted elven blade that you had. Treat it well. It's impressive.
Will do. I
Valinith.
like your bow.
Why this? And Valinith will go into his whole shtick and spiel about how it was his father's from the last battle of the last alliance, and how it was used to fell Nazgul in the sky while riding the backs of eagles. Fantastic.
yeah, it sounds quite fantastical. I'm actually gonna have you make a performance check for me, Valinith.
I'm not good at that. Performance. Not bad, not good.
Or can I make a deception check?
Are you like to make an insight check?
Insight?
Yeah, because you're inciting deception.
I just want to hide my emotions from him.
Okay, yeah. Make a deception check.
It's okay. Everyone I meet wants to do the same thing.
6.
Is that your highest roll today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my annoyance on my sleeve a little bit.
Yeah. As Valinith, you are so used to this. Everybody reacting in such ways. You have a way, though, of overindulging on the details of the story, and you could just tell that Kieran, at this point, he's looking around, just trying to see if he could do something to be helpful. Kind of just not ignoring you, but like half listening.
It's okay. Valinith is used to it, like you said, so it's all good. He'll continue to tell his tale to whoever will listen. Is Estel listening?
Estel's listening, and he's listening on bated breath. I mean, he's doing what he could. At this point, he's actually pulled out a little bit of some kind of like string and thread, and he's begun like patching himself up, like tying up like one of the wounds on his arm. He's doing it decently skillfully. This is one of the skills that you have taught him in kind of the study, is kind of a little bit of first aid, and so he's been doing that, and he's doing okay. It might scar, but he's doing okay. But he's not too badly damaged. During this, though, you can see actually kind of for the first time in quite a while, especially for you, Kieran, you see all of these bodies, these dead orc bodies splayed out on kind of like this hillside. But other than that, it's absolute peace and tranquility here. All you hear is just the sound of the birds off in the distance. There's a nice cool spring breeze. At this point, it's probably close to mid-afternoon, about 2 p.m. In the day. And you can feel the kind of like the warm heat of the sun begin to fill you after a time. Again, Kieran, you are familiar with kind of like this sensation, just generally though, where the closer you get to the Hidden Valley, the more that you kind of like the inside of you begins to feel warm, even if you have these conflicting feelings and emotions of it. It's quite interesting indeed. It's hard to feel dour in this situation, but as you look out on the battlefield, you can see that Glorfindel is going body to body until he eventually does reach the commanders, the lieutenants, and he bends down, he grabs the hair on its head, and he basically cleaves the head right off of the body. And he looks at it, and he just kind of goes, and he goes over to Asphaloth, his horse, and he takes a sack and he puts the head inside the sack. And he continues to rummage through the body of this lieutenant, and he doesn't find anything. Actually, that's one thing. I'm going to have you all make investigation checks as you look through the bodies.
And Valineth, as he puts the head in the sack, will just be like, "Oh, it's a bit unsightly, isn't it?" To Glorfindel.
Hence the reason it's going in the sack, Valineth.
13.
Those 4 sacks. What is this, investigation?
Yeah, investigation.
I'm slowly getting better rolls.
14.
14. As you look on the bodies of some of these creatures, Valineth, you're able to collect 6 arrows. 2 of which are elven arrows, arrows that you have fired. Essentially, they're just basically arrows plus 1, so an additional plus 1 to your hit. And then Kyrian, you're able to find 2 arrows, but also on the bodies, one of them in particular has a basically a little bag, and inside is 8 silver pennies.
Nice.
Pretty good.
But Glorfindel, he goes over to the lieutenant's body. He kicks it over to where now it's lying on its back as opposed to on its chest, and he takes one of the shoulder kind of armor plates off. It's like a mixture between like cobbled together like leather and iron. But on it looks to be almost written in blood, some kind of marking. And Glorfindel takes that and he also puts it in the sack. He ties it and he puts it onto basically the saddlebags of Asphaloth. In the meantime, he is also basically boarded Calefir up on top of Asphaloth as well.
Nice.
Gotta like that.
I'm gonna ask the boy whose name I forget.
Estel.
Estel. Aren't you a little young to be out on adventure at this rate? Or was this an accidental encounter for you?
No, I don't think it was accidental per se. I've been training. Actually, Valineth has been helping me a lot. Both Valineth and Lord Glorfindel. They Glorfindel primarily in training with my weapon. Lord Elrond has basically has him as my teacher. I've learned a thing or two, and I've never killed anything until today, but
Well, I can tell you're quite skilled. But
and he kind of puts his hand behind his head.
Usually we're
kind of embarrassed.
half a decade older than you are before we start our duties as Dunedain.
Fortunately, I have the protection of not only the Hidden Valley, but also of both Valineth and and Glorfindel. Dane, stop it.
I'm sorry. Just stop. Just call it something else.
Imladris. But
Yes.
he says that he's like, fortunately, I have their protection, but I've been meaning to try out some of these new skills that I have occurred. I've been training for some time, preparing for my eventual duties one day out in the wild. And he looks to him and he says, "You're one of the Dunedain, aren't you?"
Indeed.
Well, thank you. Thank you for helping us out in this fight against the enemy. They were far more menacing and grievous than I could have ever imagined. Let's just say that.
The enemy can be quite powerful, so keep your head about you. And you'll be all right, I think, in the end, but do be careful not to become too attached to Rivendell. And the elves, they can dull our senses, I find.
He kind of looks to you, and he says, Rivendell's all I've ever known, sir. I know that my duty lies beyond its borders, but the elves have been good to me. They've been, they've raised me. Ever since I was a child, as long as I can remember, my earliest memories were sitting out on the back porch looking at the waterfalls cascade in the golden sunlight of a nice summer evening. There's a plethora of knowledge. All kinds of elves and people come through and visit. I'm never bored. But I do understand they have this longing for the broader world. And I know Lord Elrond is preparing me for such things, but when I look to you, when I look to the other Dunedain, I'm reaffirmed knowing that my task at hand, what I am eventually to set out to do, is, well, let's just say I'm going to be having good allies to be able to fight back against the evils of this world. Never before have I seen such hatred in the eyes of, and he looks down at the orcs, these creatures. And now I know just exactly what I'm up against.
We've barely scratched the surface, my boy.
Tell me, Sir Kyrian, what news of you of the world abroad? I've heard stories and tales from hobbits to just travelers from afar. I hear that, especially after the dragon died, we've had travelers from Wilderland. We've had a few of them stay with us for some time. Some elves of the woodland realm, some dwarves on occasion. But I haven't heard much news of what's happening in the wilds of Eriador.
Well, how much would I know? Probably a lot.
Oh yeah, you're on
the
front lines of the war against the Shadow.
I guess I'm asking you, what is it? I don't know.
So generally speaking, there's this great peace that has been happening ever since the fall of the dragon. Where it's taken most of its effects is in Wilderland and the regions east of the Misty Mountains. However, in the regions west of the Misty Mountains, the primary threats that you are facing is, especially in the more northern regions, you have the remnants of the kingdom of Rudar. So it's like the kingdom that kind of rose to power after the fall of Angmar. And so there's like these like wild men that like are like kind of that keep to like kind of the northern mountains, and oftentimes they'll try to raid caravans. So a lot of the duties that you do is protecting from the shadows travelers on the road, but your primary goal and purpose as of now, I guess it is relatively peaceful, but is keeping the borders of the Breeland and the Shire from basically the Shadow. And so you fought all kinds of things from wargs to orcs to goblins to trolls. In the recent days, however, especially ever since the death of Arathorn, there seems to kind of be a scattering of not necessarily allegiances amongst the Dunedain, but of there's the questioning of your power against the Shadow. So you feel more divided than you ever have, but you definitely still have kind of this sense of duty of protecting. And so there are a number of creatures, but ever since Birder had slayed, so Birder's the troll chieftain who ended up slaying Arathorn. Ever since Birder had killed Arathorn and basically fled into the north, you've not seen hide nor hair of him. But there definitely are there's definitely evils, especially after what you saw today. This is probably the most organized that you've seen. Orcs or whatever the kind work together and move. So
Okay. Then I'll just kind of respond, giving briefly those details, but something along the lines of, well, the Dunedain. I wish I could say we were at the peak of our strength, but while we still do our duties, we're not as cohesive and a well working unit as we once were. As you may or may not know, our leader, our late leader, has. Oh, it's been 14 years or so without really a strong leader of the Dunedain. So we've been doing our best. Fortunately, our enemy is not greatly organized, although after recent events, I'm beginning to wonder if that isn't the case anymore. So I'm hopeful that we can find a strong leader and unite ourselves before the enemy does. But, all things considered, there is relative peace. As far as we can hold it and keep it that way.
Sir Kyrian, I will continue to work as hard as I can to hopefully one day be able to join your ranks. I want to be able to do all that I can to make sure that Middle-earth is safe. And he looks up to Valinith as Valinith is pulling an arrow out of one of the orcs. I've made many friends, and hopefully you can too. Hopefully one day you can be as good a friend. We can be as good of friends as I am with Valinith. And he kind of like nods over to Valinith off in the distance.
And Valinith calls back, "Oh, look! I still found some arrows intact! Waste not, want not, as they say. We have to give it a good cleaning." He just calls over.
Your chaperone is an interesting one.
I look to him as more of a teacher, I think.
Ah, I see. Well, hopefully, he's teaching you things beyond his elvish ways.
Did you know? And he kind of like sheepishly kind of looks at Valinith as if he's about to reveal some serious deets about Valinith. It's like, did you know that actually he traveled through all of Wilderland, through Mirkwood? He even made his way all the way to Dale. He's taught me so much just beyond of what we could learn here in the Hidden Valley in Imladris.
Well, maybe I'll have to give him some more points of respect than I thought. That seems quite...
And if you need to know anything about
of him.
history, anything about medicine, he is your elf to ask. That's the one thing that I've learned. Actually, Lord Elrond entrusted me into his care these past few months, and I have learned quite a bit from Master Valinith.
Well, I'm glad he has been a fruitful teacher.
Look, and he points to like his arm. He's like, actually, as we were talking, I stitched this up. I think I did a pretty good job. I'm gonna have you make a medicine check for me, Kyrian.
Okay. Medicine. Oh, where is it? There it is. 11.
You're not a stranger to patching up wounds. This is something that you have done for the better part of your adult life. As you look at his job, it looks unpracticed, but it's solid. The job that he has done will definitely do the trick. This is going to heal.
Nice. Well, I can see he's taught you well enough. Keep practicing, and Hopefully it won't scar too badly.
Hopefully I don't have to keep, gaining new ones in the near future. The nice thing is, because of Lord Glorfindel, this entire region is kept relatively safe. Not only between him and the Rivendell Outriders, we find some peace and prosperity. As I had mentioned, this is my first time coming up and using my skills against, well, the Agents of the Shadow, orcs. I think we should all be proud of ourselves today. Nobody died. And, well, hopefully we're making new friends in the process.
Indeed. Hey, Elfman. I can see you've taught this boy well.
Oh, yes, the name is Valinith. Don't forget it. It is an important one.
Estel
I roll
chuckles.
my eyes at him.
Oh, come now, lighten up. Valinith walks over and gives him a good old pat on the shoulder. We live to see another day, and that's another day on this wonderful Middle Earth. Now let's go heal up and relax in the Hidden Valley.
I always look forward to their
carrot sticks.
Carrot sticks.
I prefer the little chicken bits. You rip them off and you dip it, and it's just real good.
It's
real good.
I chuckle reluctantly.
With that being the case, the rest of you set to work piling the orc bodies, kind of in a small hidden area where if you burn it, it's not going to put off too much smoke, where the wind catches it and kind of disperses it to a degree. And you begin to pile up the bodies. The doozy is basically chopping up that troll and just like basically placing like an arm there, a leg there, and like all that. And you eventually do burn, and you've smelled burning meat before, but this is even different from like the smell of burning like human flesh. This is like a ghastly smell, like very irksome, I guess, if you were just gonna just throw up on the spot. And so you depart as quickly as possible. And by the time this has happened, it's gone into the evening. Kyrian, he's had some Caliphyr has had some patchwork done to keep him relatively healthy, but this entire time he has been unconscious on Asphalloth. But the rest of you walk back probably a solid 2.5 hours until you are greeted by like you just go over one kind of a hill break, and then you find yourself immediately in the land of Imladris. And as you do so, sun is setting, and some clouds have kind of begun to form over the sky. The sunlight isn't quite as bright as what you're typically used to, but it is an incredible sight to see. Immediately, even just being in the hills, you felt a little bit lighter, but again, reluctantly, Kyrian, as you make your way into Rivendell, you feel as almost all of the burdens of your life have just been lifted up, almost as if every ounce of shadow that you have encountered just seems to dissipate, as your heart and your mind are cleared for the first time in years. But at the same time, you know what this effect is, and you know that it's not lasting. It basically will persist only as long as you stay within the confines of the valley. But you make your way up the main way into the first house, the gatehouse. And you are greeted by none other than Lindir, basically the head servant of Lord Elrond. And he says, "Oh, good. I'm glad to see you all have returned, and we have a couple of guests. Lord Elrond will be happy to know that you have returned, but he is away at the moment. He and his outriders have been called on some urgent duty earlier this afternoon. He will be back later this evening. I'm sure he would want to be talking with each and every one of you at the dawn of the next day, tomorrow. But in the meantime, feel free to rest up.
Of course, thank you, Lindir. Hey, Kyrian and Estel, would you like some grub? My mother's a pretty good cook.
Sure.
It's what I like to hear. And trudges his way into town.
Yeah, you make your way, and it's a number of just garden paths as Estel, Valineth, and Kyrian kind of wander. This is actually pretty reminiscent, at least the terrain, Kyrian, of the areas actually closer to the Shire. It's very much hill country, but the big difference is the vast mountains that the Misty Mountains that rise in the east on your other side. But you do feel almost not so much kind of like the awe-inspiring, overwhelming presence, but you feel this presence of protection. You can tell that all of the flower beds have been meticulously cared for, and they very much the elves of Rivendell very much appreciate the simple things of life. And so as you make your way kind of through these paths, you pass many kind of cottages and homes. You eventually make your way to the top of the hill where there is this very quaint, very elegant, and very finely kept house. And before you is a door laden with very fine wood and brass fittings. And you knock on the door.
Don't, don't, don't.
It takes a moment, and you hear, "Yes, I'm coming." And the door opens, and you can see the face of a very young elven woman. She seems ageless, but as she looks to all of you, and she says, "Oh, Valineth, sweetie, welcome home." "Oh,
Oh, hello,
Estel,
mother.
as well. It seems you've brought another friend."
Oh, yes, we have one of Estel's kin, Kyrian of the Dunedain.
Wow. And she begins to kind of wipe her hands as if she had been like cooking. And she says, "It's been a while since any of the Dunedain have come to visit my household, but..." And she gives basically a very deep bow. And she says, "My name is Eloe. It is very nice to make your acquaintance."
Kyrian, at your service. Madame.
By the way, Kyrian, she is Lord Elrond's right-hand woman when it comes to the ways of healing. I've learned everything I have from her. So if you have any questions about how to patch up any sort of wound or poison or anything, she's the woman to talk to.
I look forward to hearing more about it.
Estel is the first one to walk in as the two of you are chatting. He makes his way as he greets Eloe and walks past her, and he goes over and he kind of sits in the main sitting room as he's looking over his basically his patch job. He takes his sword and he takes his sword off and unbuttons his belt, and he very carefully props it up against the fireplace, and he's like, "Ma'am, could you take a look at my," and he points over to his arm. "Could you take a look? I patched myself up from what we experienced today." And Eloy, she comes over like a worried mother, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, what did you get yourself into?" And she begins kind of like looking at like the stitches, and then she calls over to you, Val, and she's like, "Were you going too hard on him at the training grounds today? I told you to be careful."
Well, Mother, if it wasn't for me, I'm afraid he would be no longer. This young Estel here, I've used all of my elven work to keep him into this condition. And Valineth goes into a brief explanation of what ensued outside of the Hidden Valley.
"Well, don't just stand in the doorway. Come on in. I will go ahead and light a fire. And what would you like? Would you all like some tea?"
Valineth turns to Kyrian. "Guest choice."
Tea, ale, mead. Whatever you
Unfortunately,
have.
she basically puts out a couple options of some tea leaves, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I don't have anything stronger. We don't. Well, at least I don't consume any alcohol outside of the grand feasts that we have on occasion at the House of Elrond. But and she basically gets kind of like some of like her finest tea, and she puts it and she boils some hot water and she pours it on. She's like, "Please do have a seat. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Kyrian."
Hmm. Well, there's not much to tell. I'm a Dunedain. I protect Eriador. That's about all anyone needs to know, I suppose.
From what I've seen, he does a very good job of it. We have a companion, actually, who is going to be getting healed up by Lord Elrond himself. He would have been mincemeat if it wasn't for Kyrian stepping in at the last moment.
You're too kind. I think Lord Findle was more help for him than I, but regardless, I do my best to fight back the shadow.
Well, fortunately, if your friend is in any any dire condition, well, Lord Aristor, he is currently on healing duty right now. He should be in very good hands until Lord Elrond returns. He left on urgent business earlier today, but he said he should be back tonight. But I am happy to see that you are all safe, considering all that you have been through. Orcs so close to Imladris is quite concerning. It's been, oh gosh, easily over 20 years before since we've seen such an assault on these lands.
Nothing to an elf such as yourself, I'm sure.
I do enjoy times of peace, and I do feel safe knowing that there are many out there who are fighting against the shadow to keep places such as this safe. But that is why I am here, to be able to aid those who are protecting the weak in whatever way that I can. I'm a healer of the House of Elrond, and if you ever have any wounds or anything that my son can't quite patch up for you, well, feel free to seek me out. I'll see what I can do to make sure that you are in fighting shape once again. You being a Dunedain, I'm sure you have encountered lots of wickedness on the roads.
Indeed. Indeed I have. But your son, sounds like his many adventures has taken him into peril as well. Let's hear more about that.
Valinith,
Oh,
tell me. Have you, do you have any plans on any more adventures in the near future?
well,
Do you plan on being reckless again?
typically, there's things that need to be done in this world, and they're not going to get done if we just sit idly by. I did enough of that for the first 700 and some odd years of my life, didn't I, Mother?
I would say that you were honing a skill set.
I stifle a scoff at that remark.
But, and Valnith turns to Kyrian, but yes, someday the baby bird must leave the nest and sprout its own wings, whether or not that is on a quest to seek something or just, as a scholar as myself, learn more about the world. In my case, it is both. And Valnith goes into a long explanation of his journeys that ensued, of how he left Rivendell 6 years ago in search for his father, who had disappeared as one of the Elrond's, what are they called, the Outriders, how his father was one of the Outriders and disappeared, and Valnith went out to seek and took him east of the Misty Mountains to the land of Wilderland, and went down south to his cousin in or his cousins in Lothlorien, and asked the Lady Galadriel there, and talked about all of his endeavors in Dale and the wonderful party that he had met, such as Theodric, Feanor, a young woman from the Brelands named Jess, who unfortunately passed away in the who unfortunately passed away in the Mirkwood upon being taken over by some wayward elves, and talking about the spiders, talking about the people of Wilderland, and how the region itself is trying to unite to combat the shadow, but ultimately his quest for his father ran dry, and he didn't hear night hide nor hair, and so decided to come back, reorient himself towards any other clues that may take him in other places, so he could hopefully find it. But at the same time, based off of all of his experiences out west, a new appreciation for getting rid of the shadow as well. And so that's something that within the last few years has really grown heavy on him. And he also says, if it wasn't for Imladris, yes, it is but a brief respite here. I wish we didn't have to protect the places in the world like this, but unfortunately there's evil moving in the world, and when you got the secret sauce like we do here in Imladris, it attracts more of the evil than just your average place.
Without the secret sauce.
Yes. I mean, if you got the secret sauce, if you don't got it, you want it. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Picking up what I'm throwing at you?
Quite.
But what about you? You are a mysterious Dunedain yourself. In my travels, I have experienced many of people. My party members, as I had explained, have very interesting folk, but very, very different than yourself. But again, maybe that's just the demeanor of a Dunedain. I haven't met many of them in my time. What makes you tick, Kyrian? I'm curious.
Well, without going into too much detail, the Dunedain, it's their duty to protect the folk of Eriador. And from a young age, we train and we embark out around the age of 20 to fulfill that duty, and it is what drives us. And as you all know, we are kin in a way, having descended from, well, I suppose we could all call Elrond our very great uncle in a way. But so in that like, we have a great aversion to the servants of the enemy. And now our duty is in protecting predominantly those of Bree, those innocents who, well, yes, it's not Rivendell. There are still some good folk who live in the Breland area and the Shire. The hobbits, yes. As you may have encountered a few, they are an interesting lot, to be certain.
Oh, yes. I actually was in party with a hobbit. Actually, one related to the famous Bilbo Baggins. That is a story for another day, in fact. But, right. Yes, they are a very strange folk indeed. They mean well, of course, but...
Of course.
You don't see them much out east. It was very strange to run into the few that we did out there. But, hey, if it's any consolation... If we have someone like you protecting the western part of the Misty Mountains, think Shadow will be at least driven back for the time being. Of course, it's more than just one individual's effort that does it, but if the stories of the Dunedain are true,
Indeed.
quite impressive. Quite impressive.
Well, we don't do it for the glory. That's why we usually keep a low profile. But it does need doing, and I, for myself, have taken an oath to. Well, I find that oath may compel me to look further into the recent happenings. Seems our enemy is becoming more organized, and I have taken an oath to stop such proceedings. So, I'm in fact here to inform Elrond of some other happenings that I have stumbled upon. So,
Well, quite an honorable duty that is, to give one's life for those who are less fortunate and those who are weak. Quite noble indeed. And Valineth kind of contemplates to himself, and he twirls his cup of tea a little bit as he looks into it. And I guess enjoys the rest of the conversation as that ensues.
While the both of you are here in Rivendell, is there anything specifically that you want to accomplish before your eventual departure? If there are stuff that you don't want to, like, for example, there's some stuff that you want to do that you don't want to, like, mention or anything, just write to me. Just give me a personal message in Discord to say, like, this is what I wanted to do. This is during this time. Or we can just go out and roleplay it if you want to do that as well.
Well, I don't have anything necessarily that I need to roleplay. Valineth needs rest more so than anything if he can get it, because after that battle he is struggling a lot. I guess one other thing is he needs to restock and resupply a little bit. He never ended actually. I was looking. He never really ended up doing that at the end of the last adventure, so he needs to do that.
Okay.
So it doesn't need to be a roleplay or anything.
I need to rest, heal up, obviously. I'd also... I want to inquire about a certain family that is in Rivendell, but I don't know their surname.
Okay.
Do you want to?
But you know who I'm talking about,
yeah,
right?
do you want to role play that out, or would you like to keep it where it's just like Kyrian has gone off to do this, and then you like reconvene at some point?
I mean, we could role play it
Okay.
if we aren't in a crunch for time.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I just don't want to like spoil any backstory or anything up until this point. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're good.
So the evening begins to draw to a close, and Kyrian, you bid Valineth, and Estel leaves a little bit sooner than everyone else as he makes his way back to the House of Elrond. But Kyrian, this isn't your first rodeo. As you depart and you say goodbye to Valineth and also to Eloe. You close the door behind you and you take a deep breath of this mountain air, and you look out amongst Imladris, and you see that the lights are now blazing orange in all of the windows as many of the elves have made their ways home. You can see that there are a few that are carrying lanterns as they walk through the many paths, the many gardens. But you look into a specific direction, specifically more to like the northwest of Imladris, and there's one house in particular that you are familiar with. Every time that you have visited, that has been a place where you stayed, but now you're beginning to question whether or not you would be invited back to that place. But so as you continue to walk towards the House of Elrond, you know that there are generally guests' quarters there, so you might be able to take up room tonight there. You come to a crossroad, one that goes to the direction of, the place that perhaps you want to avoid, or one that is straight to Lord Elrond. Which path would you like to choose?
Yes. He will choose the path toward his past, I suppose, but not necessarily engaging. I just want to, like, from a distance, see if I can assess. Also, would she physically be here?
Physically, like her body?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So yeah, I would want to visit that if possible,
Okay.
as inconspicuously as possible, and also just like see how they are faring.
Mm-hmm. You stop kind of at the bottom of the hill as you look up a very familiar set of steps that climb higher and higher. They stop at the stoops of many homes, but about 2/3 of the way to the top of this hill, there's a familiar house. You can see that there are lights on, but I'm going to have you make a perception or investigation check for me.
Perception, certainly.
Okay.
Much more perception. Oh, come on.
Hey, 14 ain't
Four-
bad.
14.
You see, and you can see that there is one person who that you can see from the windows that is walking back and forth. This is Elrond, the father of Eradrian. He just seems to be going about his night. He seems to be alone. There's no one else that's in this household with him at the moment, but he seems to be alone. You see him on a couple of occasions. He'll look out the window and just kind of, you can see that there's a kind of like a soft like melancholy smile on his face as he looks out amongst the beautiful landscape as dusk has very much set in at this point. But if there is a cemetery or anything like that that you want to visit, that is going to be more continuing up the road to Lord Elrond's house. Actually, just to the west of Lord Elrond's house is basically it's a graveyard to a degree, the resting place for many of the dead.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll make my way over there, taking that in and not having the courage, I guess, for lack of a better word, to approach further.
I'm gonna have you make a wisdom saving throw for me.
Oh boy. Oh boy. 6.
You really don't have the courage. You thought as you began to walk up towards the house, and you stood kind of at the crossroad. For a moment, you thought maybe that you could go and confront your path, but you find that your feet do not move towards your location, and you can only stop and stare at this semblance, this distant memory. And before you know it, you begin to wander off in the direction towards the cemetery.
Great.
This is actually to the very first time that you have visited this resting place as well. So after a number of years, you find yourself face to face with the cemetery as you look over the many names that are listed. Fortunately, you know Sindarin, so you can read them. Until eventually you stop before one particular grave. It seems to be immaculately kept. Most of them are, but this one in particular. And you can see that there are a fresh bed of flowers that are laid on top of the grave. Like what I mean is like they're growing like through the like soil like around the grave, not like a bouquet, like a.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'll just fall to my knees and weep in sorrow.
Mhm.
Yeah, until more or less I eventually just over and over again, just like, I'm sorry, my love. And then, yeah. And then eventually I'll gather myself up and go to the House of Elrond to find a lodging for the night.
Make a wisdom saving throw for me.
Oh boy. Nat 20 for a 23.
This is what you came for. You originally came thinking confronting your past and maybe speaking to the father of Radrian would be of help, but what you have been longing for all of these years was truly a chance to say goodbye. And so this weeping that you've had isn't necessarily that of just sorrow, but almost kind of relief. It has been so long that this has been weighing on your heart, on your mind. And as you look at each of the flowers that are growing within the soil, you can see almost as if there's like twinkles and bits of her smile and her eyes that are within each and every one of these. You reach down and you pick one, and as you pull it out, it doesn't break, but you pull out the whole root. As you can see that it has all an abundance of kind of like stems and roots that go in every direction. In her death, she provided so much life, and you hold this close to your heart. And you can go ahead and add to your inventory, or at least just like write down somewhere, Radrian's flower.
Nice.
Nat 20s are a nice thing.
Heck yeah. I love when the story tells itself, you know? I'll just make a custom item, I guess. I doubt flower is an item that I can...
You
No,
never know.
just like write in your notes and I can
Yeah.
own it. So
Okay.
yeah, because I have an idea of like the effects and everything for it too. So.
Okay.
Oh, it does stuff? That's sick. That's sick.
Cool.
Poor Kyrian above game.
I know.
It's a
Tragic.
sad day. It's a sad day.
But you wander down the path back to the House of Elrond, and you stand before this beautiful, basically these beautiful doors. The light of the moon glistens off of them as if they're like diamonds that are inlaid within the door. And as you push them open, you can see that there are a number of people. To your left, there's basically this one long hall. So if you look on this image, as you make your way into kind of like the front gates here, there's a long hall that stretches all the way to the back. And then there are kind of like staircases on the left side, and there are kind of some rooms on the right side. Before you go down this main central hall, there's kind of like a narrow kind of a narrow hallway that reaches to the left and to the right. To the left, if you go down there, there's this basically this place called the Hall of Fire, which is there's this kind of open pit fireplace in the middle, and it's a place of kind of just like relaxation and study. You've spent many a time here in your younger years. And then to the right is the feast hall. So if you go down there, there's going to be the feast hall. And then all the way at the back is the front porch. If you go down the central hall and you take a left up the stairs, one flight up is the area where there are guest rooms, which are guests of Lord Elrond. And as you do make your way up, you do run into Eriador. So Eriador is one of the Elven Lords. This is one that you most likely have met on many occasions.
Yeah.
He is where Lindir is like the main head servant of Elrond. Eriador is like the right-hand man of Elrond. He is primarily his duty is of a healer and assister of that, but he is also deeply knowledgeable about the ways of the world. And he looks to you and he says, Kyrian, it's good to see you. It's been some time.
Eriador. Likewise. It's a difficult visit, but necessary.
It's understandable. Lord Glorfindel, he informed me of all that you, Valinith, and young Estel had done to be able to, save the life of my patient. And I will say, not a moment too soon. From the sounds of it, from Lord Glorfindel, he was at a point of not just physical, grievous injuries, but his body has experienced toil. He clearly journeyed far to get to where he is today.
And quite the set of armor as well.
Yes, the Lords of Dol Amroth, they are... Well, they're pretty gaudy, but they definitely see far more battle and conflict and war than we do up here in the north. And primarily that's due to the works of those like you. So you do have my thanks, Kyrian.
Just kind of nod in respect to him.
There's a couple of rooms set up for both you and Calafir. Calafir is resting. If you head up the stairs just to the second floor, there are many rooms that are straight in front of you, and a couple that are to your left and to your right. Calafir is the ones that are down the right hallway. If you want to take any of those rooms that are straight ahead or to the left, we do not have any guests at the moment, so you're free to take whichever room that you so please.
As always, what's his name?
Eriador.
Eriador. As always, Eriador, thank you for your hospitality. I'll bow and say goodnight. I imagine all of this has been in Sindarin also.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And as he departs, he says, "Till we meet again, elf friend." As he departs from you.
I stop a little bit, consider that for a second, and move on to my guest room and rest.
So the question for you is, do you wish to take any of the rooms that are in front of you or down to the left? If you take the ones that are in front of you, they do not have any windows to the outside, but they are much larger rooms. If you take the ones to the left, you actually have a view of the front porch and the cascading waterfall kind of in the north of Rivendell. Either or is fine, just for a little bit of flavor. Depends on which one you like.
I will, so as not to become too attached to Rivendell, I will take the inside room.
Okay. You walk in, and this is the first time that you've ever been in these guest rooms in everyone's house. They are immaculate. They are very finely kept. You've had your fair share of rough stays and some very dingy. Like, to be honest, it's probably more likely that, considering many of the inns and taverns that are within Eriador, especially the more rundown ones, you would much rather camp than stay in any of those nasty places.
Sure.
But this place is the epitome of luxury. There's a nice, freshly made down pillow and down comforter in bed. As you sit down, there is no creaking or squeaking in any way. It just, the mattress itself conforms to your figure. And you could just feel as if all of like the toils of your journey have just been lifted from you. You look around, and there's a small sitting area, along with already prepared a craft of wine, and also some water as well. And as you walk over, you can as you feel them, both of them are actually chilled, as if freshly prepared and waiting for you. There is a couple pieces of some bread, and also some fruits that are on the table as well for you to be able to enjoy. There's like a smell. You can't quite put a finger on it, but I'm going to have you make a perception check for me.
And I'm gonna roll well this time. Dang it! I guess I did
The
have a nat
smell
20
roll.
earlier. 13.
13. As you smell, as you take a deep breath, you're immediately flooded with the aroma of cedar and lilac. This is a very actually reminiscent of the smell of Radrian's clothing. And it's...
Those elves, how do they do it?
Yeah, I'm telling you. It's a way, it's very comforting, especially after that cathartic experience at the grave. You are able to sit down and close your eyes for some good, decent rest.
Beautiful.
Valinith, do you have anything this evening that you want to accomplish, or do you want to just call it a day?
Well, Valinith wants to talk a little bit more to his mother. We don't need to roleplay it or anything, but he wants to talk a little bit to his mother just about the events that ensued, and I guess just even a little bit more about what an interesting fellow Kyrian is. And Valinith is a bit perplexed and a bit worried with how he it seems like, how to say, the comfort and homeliness of Imladris doesn't take hold on him, and he's very curious about why that is. And that's all. He's just going to talk with his mom about that the rest of the night.
The evening draws on, and you can hear that there are owls in the distance. They're kind of low hooting. Really brings kind of like this sense of slumber, even though elves don't really sleep. This quiet town of Imladris seems to be just an absolute peace. You would have never thought, and as the two of you dream the dreams that you have, it's more, again, reflections for Valinith, but you begin to almost forget the battle that had taken place earlier in the day. The faces of the orcs seem to be washed away, almost as if it's a distant memory. And Kyrian, by the time you wake up in the morning, it's just daybreak and dawn. You can hear the early morning birds chirp, and from the general tells of it, it's probably close to about 6 a.m. in the morning. As you open your eyes. But even though you only got probably 8-9 hours of sleep, it feels like you had been sleeping for like a week just straight, and you just feel like a little bit groggy at first, but your body feels healed to a complete degree. But as kind of your senses come to, you hear actually a soft knocking on the door. Kyrian.
Wait, me or him?
Kyrian.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to him. Wow. So sorry. Yeah, I get up, put on whatever clothing I took off to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Actually, one of the many services that you had is there was a small basket that was on the side that had a note written for you to leave your dirty clothes. And one of Elrond's servants came and washed them, and they are freshly prepared for you. And apparently, at some point during the night, someone had come in and placed your clothes.
That's not creepy.
But they're completely clean.
Elven service is what it is.
I know. I laugh to myself and just say, elves. And I put on the the clothes.
Your
and,
worn cloth and leather feels smooth to the touch as it goes on, and almost as if you're being hugged and you can see that they actually have done a meticulous job at repairing seams and re-hemming everything and making sure that everything's good. Any stains that you had on your leather gear, they made sure to brush away, and they basically like recoated it and polished it, and everything looks almost as if it is brand new.
I say to myself, dang, I liked those stains.
This one was from that really good burger I had the other day.
You stain out of memory. Anyway, and I answer the door.
And as you do, it's Lindir. He looks to you and he says, "Oh, good, you're up. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was disturbing you, but Lord Elrond has returned and he wishes to speak with you."
Wonderful. I will be right there.
As you do, you see, not in complete plate armor, but you see already making his way kind of slowly, very groggily down the stairs is Caliphyr. He's wearing this actually really nice set. It's probably what he was wearing under his armor, but this really nice set of almost kind of like very kind of sturdy linen clothes. It's dyed in a kind of this lightish blue with silver trim, and it kind of has like a collar. It looks almost like nobility kind of clothing. He's got like these kind of like white leather pants and like these tall just walking boots. As he wakes his way down the stairs, he doesn't notice that you have come. You look at his face and he looks young, but he looks, his eyes look haggard, as if he has seen a lot in his time. His hair, you can tell that he's taken the time to meticulously brush it to make sure that it's very finely kept and perfect. He has like some kind of wax or oil in his hair to keep it together. As he walks down, he no longer seems to be in any pain. In fact, he's standing completely straight and upright, with nearly perfect posture as he walks down the stairs.
The healers of Rivendell have done their job well, I see, Caliphyr.
Well,
Looks like you are feeling much better.
Lord Eristor, he, well, let's just say he is quite skilled in his craft. I feel as if I had taken a month off of duty, and partially it makes me feel guilty, but as I look around this place, I can't help but wonder if I had actually passed on. I woke up this morning, and he's on like the southern side, the southern rooms on to the right. I woke up this morning to a beautiful, beautiful sunrise. I've never seen anything like it. Over the mountains, the sun barely just peeked up over the hills to the east, and the warmth that I felt as it trickled upon my face. I looked over to my wounds, and they have completely been healed up. The stitches have been removed. There is a nasty scar there, of course, but I feel healthy. How do you fare, Kyrian?
Likewise. I am astounded, as always, by the abilities of the elves. Sometimes I get a little jealous, if I'm completely honest with you.
It seems ethereal, doesn't it? From my understanding, this is a place of healing. I've only heard stories of Imladris, but who was to think that my journeys would take me here? It's completely unlike anywhere else I've been in my entire life.
Yes, it is definitely a special place, and well hidden in this valley.
Indeed. Well, when me and my men, we entered into, well, let's just say we were in pursuit of something. We followed a group of men up into these hills. And of course there were rumors amongst me and my men about a elven city. Lost to history, lost to memory. But as we creeped up into the hills, I could feel something. But now, as I stand here with you in this beautiful hall, well, some will just say that fairy tales are a reality, and it completely changes your perspective on everything that you've ever known. Something so distant could be so comforting and homely.
I understand the sentiment. But enough talk here. I have a meeting with Lord Elrond that I must attend to.
Ah, as do I. Shall we make our way together?
Let's.
And so you make your way down to the first floor in kind of the central corridor here, and you walk towards the back, towards the front porch where Lindir told you to go. As you do, you are greeted by a beautiful sunrise as you look to the north and you see that the light is glistening off of the waterfall. And you see, back turned to you, a elf, a very tall elf in elegant blue robes. Around his waist, I'm actually going to have you make a traditions check for me, Kyrian.
Okay. I am okay at this. Well, not when I roll an @1. 5.
You've never seen anything sparkle quite like this. But you're unsure about what this material is, and he turns around and he says, "Oh, good. The rest of you have come. Please, have a seat." And you see, already seated at the table is Valinith.
Also, sorry, did we get a long rest?
You did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Imladris, basically, this is because of Valinith, fortunately. It's already considered for your party to be
a holiday or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary, there you go. That's the word.
I don't know what just happened, but they put my HP down to 16 for some reason.
Yeah, that's the HP. So make sure when you're doing like the long rest, because of the way that we're doing hit points, just increase your refresh and basically uncheck everything. I know it's so convenient with the long rest, but there's some weird like bug with D&D Beyond that it doesn't like to have the. Speaking of which, I need to long rest. It doesn't like to have the like custom hit points the way it is, so don't worry about it.
Cool.
But anyways,
Okay.
so you're able to absolutely completely long rest, but you see as he offers you a seat at this table, it's a round table, so one of the seats is already taken, and then there are 3 more that are empty, and he bids you to take a seat next to Valinith.
Ah, Elfman.
Oh,
Good to see you again.
The name is Valinith. It is good to see you too, Kyrian.
Oh,
Hopefully
yes, I'd
you got some
forgotten
rest.
already. I apologize.
It's okay. I'm used to it. It's not a very easy name that doesn't roll off the tongue, right? But it seems like you. Wow, you're looking quite nice. Did you get a new belt or something?
What are you saying? You didn't like how I looked before?
Well, you were a little worse for wear after that battle, that's for sure. Now you look like a new man.
Well. Thank you. It's quite kind. You yourself look quite elvish.
Hey, I'll take it. I appreciate it, my friend.
Caliphyr, he stands, he pulls out his chair, and before he sits down, he gives you a small bow, Valinith, and he gestures to you with a nod, Kyrian, and he says, So what is this about? As he takes a seat, Elrond turns around and he says, I've had many meetings as of late. Many movements in the world have led me to believe that we are coming into a time, a moment in history where the realms of men and elves must once again reunite. And this has been made evident as before me, I see a man of the south from the far realm of Gondor. I see a Dunedain. And I see one of my kin. Seated at the table together, fates seem to have drawn us to this current moment. Tell me. I know each one of you have specific news that you need to discuss with me, but first and foremost, we must discuss what brought you together. You've confronted an evil. A darkness that has made its way up into my hills. One that hasn't crept so close to my borders for years. And it brings all three of you to my front porch. Tell me, what are each of your purposes here? He looks to Valineth. You always find a way of finding friends, don't you?
Well, if I've learned anything from my time out in the distant world, there's plenty of friends to be made, and especially ones with a common interest. In particular, very, very useful in terms, but also very helpful to those around. So, yes, of course, I wish circumstances were different, but both Kyrian and Caliphyr, and Valineth gestures to Caliphyr saying, glad you're holding up well. I was quite worried for you back then. I'm glad that we made it to see a new day. That's what Valineth says. So.
Cheers to that. And Caliphyr, he holds up his glass that's on the table. But then Elrond, he looks to you specifically, Kyrian. It's good to see you again, Kyrian. What brings you here to my humble home?
Well, Lord Elrond, I, as always, am at your service. And as I was about doing my due diligence with my companion Halberad, we found ourselves on an expedition to help a certain dwarf and man, to which we were led into a troll lair. And it would appear that, sorry, to the DM, it was a hill troll?
I believe so. A lesser hill troll, but it was a hill troll, yeah.
Okay. It would appear there was a family of hill trolls who had kidnapped these wanderers' family members. We have since set them free, but not without great losses on their traveling party. We took down one of the trolls, but as it was me and my companion and no other backup, we had to flee. And it would seem that this news brings about an unfortunate news that there are beings of this sort that are starting to congregate closer than they have in the past to Bree and to the realm of man. And as we encountered on our way here, I can see that these are great signs of something stirring about in these lands of Eriador. And it was my duty, as Halberad went to warn our brethren and fellow Dunedain, I came here to warn you all.
I'm glad that you came here in one piece. Of course, I trust your skill, Kyrian. You've seen much battle. I'm sorry I wasn't able to greet you as the group of you entered into my valley, but from what your news brings, I also have mine. There were a pack of wargs that have also made their way into the valley, and while you were dealing with the orcs to the north, me and my riders, we chased off those wargs to the south. It seems that there are a number of wicked creatures that are congregating, making their way closer and closer to Rivendell. Don't know what it is, but there is a darkness that is lurking. And I know you, as one of the Dunedain, those with the eyes on the road, probably have much to be able to tell us about such evils and such darkness. And then he looks over to Caliphyr and says, "And you? Your face is one that I have not seen before. I'm glad that you have found healing at my house. But please, state your business." And Caliphyr, he sits up straight and says, "Lord Elrond, I am Caliphyr, captain of the Silver Swan Court of Dol Amroth, at your service." And Elrond, he nods and says, "And since it is our first meeting, I am Lord Elrond of Imladris, at yours." And Caliphyr, he mentions, he says, "My original intent was not to intrude on the home of my elf friends. But around a month and a half back, I had men. They were sailors, and they were besieged by a large, great fleet of black ships off the coast. Ships from Umbar. It is my duty, and my duty to my lord and to the people of Gondor, for me to be able to protect the waters that are south of the region of Gondor. And so I, along with some of my close compatriots, fellow warriors, we went and we sailed. And we engaged in combat with the corsairs of Umbar, pirates. We sunk nearly every ship except for one. It's a legendary ship. A ship with black sails. Its hull is made of iron. And he looks directly into the eyes of Elrond, fearlessly. This is actually something that's quite odd. There are very few who would be willing to do that with just like his sheer just presence. And on the sails, they had the icon of Numenor. The Black Numenorians. Long ago, they served the Shadow, as you know. And this ship, it's known all over Gondor, particularly to us at Dol Amroth. It's called the Cathu-Phazagon. This is a legendary ship from ages past. Well, we routed the pirates, except for this ship. And so I took upon myself a ship of my own as we pursued it up the coast. We were caught in a storm, and we were laid to wreck. few of us survived. But it was thanks to the people of the north that we were able to be, and for just kind of a little bit of your information, it was thanks to the people of the north that we were able to at least find some comforts. It was just me and a handful of men that were remaining. It was Arfanath, one of the diplomats from Dol Amroth, Ulian, Frostan, Malbec, some of my finest warriors, Glorian, the captain of the ship, and Frothian. He's my armor bearer. We survived. And we needed to seek help. We were pointed in the direction as we zoom in. Oh, you can't really see, but you zoom in up here, kind of in this general area. We were pointed in the direction of Tharbad. We were heard that many business dealings could be made up there, and with the coin that we had left, we had plenty in order to buy a ship. We met at one of the local taverns a few sailors who were willing to part with one of their ships. We were made for fools. In the night, they fled with all of our coin. So we pursued them northward. As we did so, we followed them all the way north as we made our way into these hills. We were able to track them down, and we were able to confront them. And confront them we did. We are taught in Gondor, before we raise blades, before we raise a threat of death, to talk things through. And he gestures uncomfortably. So as we tracked these men to this cave, Arfanath and Ulian went to go speak with them, while the rest of us, we hung back. But after some time, a large brute emerged from within the darkness of that cave. He wasn't a troll. Smaller than a troll, but he was no mere man either. These bandits, these thieves, they let this creature speak, paying deference and respect to this beast. This leader, I've never seen anything like him. Big, fast. Nothing so massive has the right to move so quickly, like one of the great mountain bears of legend. He bore a wicked, notched sword. Huge. And he was not one for words. He cut poor Ulian in half with a single stroke. Then the bandits seized Arfanath, tied him up, and brought him into the caves. Their leader, he was like an ogre from the old tales. And he spoke the black speech. And as he does so, he looks to Elrond, and there's kind of this silence between the two of them. His voice till the end of my days. I will hear that voice, like fear given breath. Me and my remaining men, Frostan, Melbic, Glorian, and my armor-bearer Frothian, laid plans to ambush the villains in the night and take back our silver, Arthanath, and to reap justice on the vile men and this creature. When the time was right, we raided the camp. We slew many of the men that stole from us, but that creature deflected all of my blows with ease. That was until we heard the rumblings of something great from deep within the cave, and suddenly we were beset by two great stone trolls, and sent us scattering. My men fell one by one. Frostan, poor Frostan, was taken by one of the trolls and stuffed into a sack. I told Frostan's father I would take care of him. But to be treated as such, to be taken captive by such wicked creatures, is beyond me. The trolls, along with that great creature, made their way north as I fought off the remaining bandits. But as the creature fled, there was someone else with them that kept to the shadows. They were in a rush when they left. The only words I could get out of the men were about having to go to the cold fells and being behind schedule. And I slew them where they stood. I picked up the trail. But before long, as if they were expecting me, a group of orcs beset me. I fought and I ran. 2 days they pursued me. 2 days I fended them off. Until I was too tired, too exhausted to go on. And I decided on those hills to make my last stand. A glorious end to the captain of Dol Amroth. That was until Lord Glorfindel, Valineth, Kirian, and Estel came to my rescue. And he nods over to the rest of them. And it is because of this that I am in both of yours great debt. And he gives a deep bow to the two of you. Yes, I serve my lord, but to the end of my days, I will never be more grateful than what you have provided me. Another day of life, and a chance for me to redeem what I have lost. Orphanath, Throstan. Lord Elrond, I plan to depart at once. I need to get my men back, and I need to make my way back south. Elrond, he looks to, and his expression this entire time doesn't change. But I'm gonna have both Valineth and Kirian, and have the both of you make insight checks for me.
Come on, baby. Oh my gosh.
You got this. I believe in you.
I don't. 5.
Oh my. Better. 11.
You as you look to the two of them back and forth as Kirian or Caliphyr is telling his tale. Kirian, you hang on to these words, and you can't help but think of the story that you just told about trolls taking captive family members and whatnot. Not necessarily killing them per se, but kidnapping them. And these are the words that you hang on. However, Valineth, as you see Lord Elrond's face, you hear the words that this creature, this ogre-like creature, spoke in the black speech. And you can see that while Elrond's face doesn't change, you can see that kind of almost there's like this glaze over in his eyes. This is something that is quite serious. Elrond, he says, the black speech hasn't been spoken in these lands for quite some time, ever since the fall of Angmar back in the Second Age. This is troubling news indeed. And he turns his back to you, and he looks out onto the waterfall, and you see as he thinks reflectively, and then he turns around and looks at each and every one of you, and he said, I made this valley my home in the Second Age of this world, a place of healing, a refuge, a stronghold of wisdom, a house filled with light to hold the darkness at bay. As if almost kind of distracted from the what you previously were talking about, he says, there's a riddle I have thought on many times, perhaps because it has no true answer. Whose is the greater calling? The scholar who knows the ways to heal a wound, or the warden who prevents it from ever occurring? What say you?
Valinith ponders to himself, and he says, "This news is troubling indeed. After coming back from the east and understanding that there was shadow afoot there, it seems that it has taken root in the land west as well. By no means am I a hero. However, I must help in any way that I can. And at the very least," and he turns to Caliphyr and says, "At the very least, knowing that at least one of your men is still alive, or potentially still alive, maybe you inquire the help of a healer. I spent my time in Emladris for a good part of a year now, and it seems the world is in need of some elvish healing."
Well, I have an oath to fulfill, and I believe this is the path that it now takes me. You have my swords.
"You have my bow."
And Caliphyr, he says, "And you have my shield."
My axe.
And you have my shield. I have spent many a year training under the tutelage of lords of Gondor. I have been raised for war. But my shield is to protect the weak. I am a warden of the lands of Gondor, and by extension, a warden of the innocent of Middle-earth. Fate has brought me here to these hallowed halls of the elves, has brought me into contact with heroes such as Cirion, Valinith, and of course Lord Elrond Glorfindel. I will not fail my duty. I will not besmirch the name of Dol Amroth of Gondor. What I have to say of this riddle, all I know is that each breath that I draw is to give glory to my Lord and to fight for freedom and justice. I am not much of a healer, but I am a leader of legions of many men. I will use that insight to be able to not only recover my companions, but to lead this party, this group, into victory over the shadow. Victory over that which has crept forth from the black lands of Mordor. For the glory of Gondor, and for the freedom of Middle-earth. I'm gonna have both of you make. I'm gonna have both of you make traditions checks for me.
Traditions?
I'm finally gonna roll well. I can feel it.
You would think Valinith would be good at traditions, but that's an 11.
22.
Valinith, you have on occasion met people from Gondor, but this just seems like an inspirational speech. It's definitely clearly a words from someone who would be deemed captain of a battalion. These are words of war. Cirion, you are more familiar with this type of speech. This is very typical of the men of Gondor. They speak in platitudes, they speak of virtue, they speak of valor, and they speak of the driving back of the shadow. The one thing that you know is in recent years, ever since the banishing of the Necromancer, but even before that, after basically throughout the First Age, the lands of Mordor have been relatively empty. And Gondor basically stands as the watch over those black lands. Basically they are the shield against the darkness. And so the fact that you see Caliphyr acting the way that he does with a sense of duty, you can tell that he has been very much instilled with the valor of those of Gondor, and he is very much a warrior. Not to say that the things that he is saying aren't honest of how he feels, but this is how the men of Gondor are trained to react when it comes to the basically confronting the darkness, confronting evil. But in your mind, especially as a ranger, one of the things that differentiates like a ranger from a man of Gondor is you know when to stand down and when to rethink. Typically the men of Gondor tend to be like throw all men at the like waves at whatever it is, and then you just basically fight until your glorious death. But that's not necessarily how the Dunedain survive. So you also understand that as well. There's like a very stark difference between the culture of Gondor and the culture of the Dunedain and Arnor.
Yeah.
So
Nice. Just remember, when fighting for glory, what it is you are fighting to protect.
yes, wise words coming from a wise man. And he looks to Elrond and he says, I feel good. I could never have expected to be able to heal quite as fast as I have at this point. Thank you. You have my thanks. I live to see another day. And my blade and my shield, they will seek justice and retribution from the things that they have done to your people and to mine. Elrond, he nods, and he looks to you, and he says, to all of you, and he says, so we've heard this tale. What do you make of these bandits? What do you make of this leader? And his eyes almost look pointed to you, Kyrian, as if like you should know something about this. Make an insight check for me.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
He wasn't in that part of Eriador.
17.
The only thing that you can think of is the troll chieftain Birder. He continuously pops up in your mind as you heard the story, this commander. But you do also remember, after the fight before Glorfindel dispatched the last orc, the captain, or was it the captain? I think it might have just been a regular orc. But before he dispatched the last orc, they had mentioned something about a captain that they were following. And this kind of irks you to a degree, Kyrian. You've been basically spending your time trying to rid the Eriador of any kind of leadership, and the fact that there are orcs, there are men, there are trolls that are uniting under this ogre-like creature is quite concerning to you. But he says to you, Valinith, but also to Kyrian, what do you make of these?
Upon my word and my oath, I will see to it that this shadow leader is destroyed.
And it seems this shadow is rooted deep. And who knows, maybe this is the secret behind the disappearance of my father as well.
I understand that I'm in no place to ask this, particularly of you, Kyrian and Caliphyr, as you do not fall under my lineage, and I hate to ask this of you, Valinith. Knowing that you had just returned from a long journey east of the Misty Mountains. But far to the south lies the Blacklands of Mordor. But it's not far enough. I see the hand of the shadow in this, and my heart bids me to act. It is in my mind to send you forth after this captain who knows the black speech, to discover as far as you are able who he is, and what he is about here in the West. If you agree, you must go at once. While he is perhaps 4 or 5 days ahead of you, his stone troll companions will slow his progress, as they cannot abide in the light of the sun. If he is truly headed north into the cold fells, you should be able to pick up his trail in the troll shaws.
When do we leave?
You all look to each other, and Calefir, he says, "In due haste." And he looks over to you, Valinith.
Of course, in due haste. This is an urgent matter, but do remember, we have an enemy who is organized and is expecting us at their trail. I think it is important that we leave as soon as possible, but I also think it's important that we prepare for whatever Eriador throws at us.
I agree.
So-
Calefir, he stands up as he pulls out his sword and he points it like over the table, like almost as if like I don't know, like knighting someone. He pulls it over the table. He's not in his armor or anything, but he has a sword and he has his shield with him. And he points it over the table and he says, "For the glory of our people, my companions, Kyrian, Valinith, we will go to the ends of the earth to find my friend and my kin. And we will be smart. We will prepare. We will be tactful. And we will be victorious."
He's so charismatic. I love it.
Hoorah!
Huzzah! Indeed. There you go.
Elrond, he says, "Well, then there we have it. I will provide you with all that you need for the road that you have ahead. Fortunately, as spring begins to settle into Eriador, the snows will begin to clear, and warmer days will be ahead. But we are now moving into the rain season. Make sure you are prepared. Make sure you have everything that you need to be able to stay dry, and all the food that you desire. Unfortunately, in the troll shaws, many of the wildlife have fled. They are being preyed upon by orc and troll alike. Do be careful. Keep your wits about you. I deem you all companions, the defenders of the West. And together, you are charged with, if not rooting out the enemy, discovering what they are up to. Don't be foolish. Be smart. With whatever information that you are able to gather of this captain, of his plans, do so and report back to me as soon as you can. Lord Glorfindel and myself, we will continue to protect the lands here. Make sure nobody, no orc, no warg, no troll, makes their ways into the safe place. And for you, Calefir, I will send word to my cousins in Lindon. When the time comes, we will prepare a ship for you to sail south back to Dol Amroth. But until that time, I appreciate your service, and all of you, the defenders of the West.
Oh, man. Goosebumps.
And with
I
that,
love it.
we're going to end our session for tonight.
All right. Nice. Hey, I was wondering where that was going on how we were going to unite.
With that, I am going to say, outside of stream, I'm going to go ahead and prepare you with all the stuff. So Elrond said that he will provide you with all that you need. If you guys want to go ahead and add 7 rations to your inventories.
He didn't give us lemnis bread.
He did not give you lemnis bread.
Oh,
What a jerk.
It's
Oh
not
my.
considering that long of a journey. You're not traveling to the lands of Mordor.
oh my gosh. Okay.
No, but you are given 7 rations each. You can restock on arrows, whatever arrows that you have used up to 20. So if you have more than 20, you don't get any more, but you can have up to 20 arrows.
Are they special arrows?
What was that?
Are they special arrows?
No, they're just regular arrows. Although 2 of the arrows that you did collect, Valineth, were elvish arrows. So you do have 2 elvish arrows to be able to use. What else? Oh, and he has given you, each of you, including Caliph here, 2 basically sprigs of Athelis.
Wow, what is that?
So basically, it's the healing herb in this game. It heals, I believe, like what is it, like 1d4 plus 1.
1d4.
Yeah, 1d4 plus 1 hit points, but it's like the closest to like consumable healing item.
Is it in here in D&D Beyond?
Yeah, Athelis. Yeah, so it should be under the Adventures in Middle Earth.
It's green.
Yeah, so Athelis.
King's Quill.
Yes.
Does my pack that I have, my preparing kit, do
how many
more
of those
to
do
it,
we get?
or 2?
2 of them. Yes, so if you go and you prepare it, I believe I'm gonna have to look on the region guide, but I think if you spend time with your kit during your
10 minutes,
like,
right?
rest, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's like if you spend time with your kit during like a rest. So the 10 minutes one is when you're using your Hands of the Healer, but you can use a charge of your herbalist kit and improve them. But basically you can do one of those per like night of rest.
I need to take advantage of that because, man,
yeah,
it
goes.
I have lemnis bread.
If you prepare the King's Foil, it goes from healing 1d4 plus 1 to 2d4 plus 2, so it doubles the efficiency of it. So,
also, Valineth, keep me honest with this, Cole. During our short rests that we have, because I haven't been using this, I forget that I have this as a feature and a trait. I have, what is it called? I have, where is it? Sorry. I have Healer's Staunching Song. Do I have that? Yeah, I have that. Which basically it allows me during short rests to, so four party members, they can get a free hit dice plus their Constitution modifier.
Nice.
1 hit dice per short rest, which is kind of
sweet.
Nice. I haven't been using that, which is a bit unfortunate because that's pretty good healing. So
yeah,
keep me honest with that. I forgot I had that.
Keep you honest. I won't let you lie.
You don't lie. Before I let you go, before I let you go for the night, I'm gonna ask each of you thoughts on tonight's session. But before I do that, I want to, with this being kind of like a new intact party, also while you're going through and telling us what you thought of tonight's session, talk a little bit about your character's playing style and like how you view your role in this party, in this company.
Okay.
We can talk a little bit more role playing it next session as you guys are traveling, but just so everybody kind of has more of an idea of like what your character excels in. I think that would be cool for like the audience to be able to know that.
For sure.
Cool.
Cole, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start with what my character excels in. So he is a wanderer. I think that's the official title. Yeah, so he's really good at like navigating. He's really good, kind of similar to like the ranger in D&D, but more Middle Earth flavor. So he's really good at like navigating through known areas. He's also can't be surprised with his cool blade. So he's definitely going to be a really good guide on the traveling aspect of things. But he's also going to be really, I mean, he's very perceptive. And I'm hopeful. He has a lot of bonuses against in combat against the shadow. So I built him to be a little bit of a DPS in that way.
Good.
focusing on damage dealing,
Specifically to
dual
like
wielding.
trolls and like orcs and like
Yeah,
specifically like creatures of shadow like that, right?
yeah, correct. So like creatures of shadow, I get like an additional just +2 damage to them. I get a +1 bonus to hit them as well. So yeah, I mean it's definitely and he has like uh he
Region
like when it
bonuses.
comes to corruption, he's really good at not being corrupted by the shadow, um, amongst a bunch of other things. So pretty awesome dude. But yeah, he really excels in all that, and he typically is kind of a dual wielder, swords, well, sword and dagger, and then also if he needs, he can also do some damage with a bow.
Mhm.
Currently, he only has one attack, but he can use his bonus action to attack if he's up in melee. So he's kind of filling the role of DPS for the most part, and also just a utility class insofar as like role play. Um,
Cool.
yeah,
Can be helpful. Very helpful.
yeah.
Tonight's session, though, what were your thoughts?
Tonight's session, yeah, I thought it was really fun. Um, it's fun playing a more dark, mysterious
A
character.
dour character.
Yeah.
I like it.
Because I love Valadin. I love how cheerful he is, but it's
Well,
just so
he.
interesting. Like, yeah, just trying to like have a strong opinion
Mhm.
about the elves in Rivendell and everything.
Mhm.
And it's not like he hates them. He just has a history.
Oh, we saw. I
Yeah,
feel so bad for Kyrian. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
heartbreaking.
So I mean, that gives you a little bit of a taste.
Above game, obviously. Yes,
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
it. I
yeah.
like it.
So hopefully, we'll eventually delve more into that I hope we do delve more into Valinith. Um, yeah, it was cool like getting to meet Valinith's mom and to be in Rivendell. Yeah, I mean it's just really fun to play in a setting that I love, especially Middle Earth and hanging out in Rivendell. It's a fun place to role play and to enjoy oneself. So
If you guys,
it was really fun, and I really liked the role play. So
if you guys ever go back and re-listen to it, like I really try to make like the ambience of Rivendell be like really peaceful. I have like
It is.
background music and like
nice.
nature sounds and like all that
It's
kind of stuff. I
great.
know you guys can't hear it on Vorpal Board, but like for those who are watching on stream, hopefully it's good. It gives you kind of like that sense of like peace. So yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
for
agree.
sure.
It's Rivendell's sick.
Yeah. So yeah, really fun sesh.
Cool.
So
Dane with Valinith, what is your character? What do they excel out, play style, and also thoughts on tonight's session?
So I specifically chose Valinith not only to be a medic for like the party, but I also chose a high elf for specific reasons. And I'll go into those. So obviously Valinith, he excels when it comes to healing in Adventures in Middle Earth. Unlike most high fantasy, there's not a lot of healing. So like again, Kyle mentioned the Athelis. Like anyone can use that, but it's only like 1d4 plus 1. Valinith has some more tools he can use, like for example during short rests he gets a couple things as I mentioned earlier, but also he has a couple uses of Hands of the Healer, which is 2d8 plus proficiency modifier I believe, and so he's got some extra heals to be able to use. So in a pinch he's quite nice. He's not very skilled as a frontline attacker. He has a dagger and he can do so. He definitely succeeds a little bit more with a bow, and he's pretty good with a bow, especially the bow that I mentioned that he got from his father. That was like his big upon
Yeah, it was
hitting
his
level 4
cultural heirloom that he got.
heirloom that he got. So he has a high hit with it, and the damage is pretty good too. It's a
Yeah,
+1
so
bow.
that's
So
an option in Adventures in Middle Earth. Instead of taking on like a new feature or like stat upgrade, one of the like cultural things that you can do is get an heirloom from your people. And so there's like a list of them that you can have for each culture, each race. And the specific one that Valinith has is the Bow of the Last Alliance, which it was flavored to be like his father's bow, Morbeth. And yeah, and I think with that, most. So when you think of like D&D items and that kind of stuff, like magical items, they typically have like a ton of stuff on them. Essentially, what the bow is it's a +1 bow with like one kind of secondary effect. And so I believe Valina's bow is like
Increase to
just like
hit.
it's like yeah, +3 to hit. And +1
Nice.
damage. So +1
Yeah.
damage, +3 to hit. So
Yeah, it's a DC. It's a +7 to hit, which is really nice. So then it's 1d8 +3. So hopefully he
nice.
hits more. I mean, that's kind of one thing we realized. Well, I realized when I was playing though
We'll do.
Wilderland Adventures was it really mattered if you hit or not. It didn't matter how much damage you did. If you could just do damage every single turn, it doesn't matter how much it is. It goes a long way. Like there are many opportunities or like encounters that we had where we just couldn't hit water.
Yeah, you freaking shot Theodric in the booty.
I did shoot him in the booty once, and I don't want to do that again. I don't want to shoot anyone in the booty. That's a good guy. Uh, so, so yeah, that's kind of what I chose. But also the flavor text is kind of cool when it comes to that. Those of you watch session 0 of Valinus Eriador Adventures if you want the more like in-depth dive of that. But yes, so he's a ranged attacker, ranged DPS who has some healing ability, kind of useless when it comes to a front line, but a ranged attacker. But also like Kyrian, he's very wisdomy. So he's got high insight, high perception. I typically play him as like the guy who thinks through things in the party. Like he's not rash, he doesn't make just decisions snap decisions. He likes to sit down and think things through if they have the time, given the time to do so. But also just being a Rivendell elf, he's very he has a lot of things that go towards the shadow. For example, being a high elf of Rivendell, he can see wraiths. He can see the shadow as if they were in this existent world, even if they're invisible. And to wraiths, he is a bright, shining beacon of light because, again, he is a high elf of Imladris. And unfortunately, comes with some sweet things. He really struggles when it comes to getting points of shadow. If he gets points of shadow, they turn into permanent points of shadow. So he has to be really, really careful when it comes to a lot of those specific checks because, again, it beset by woe is the thing that it is. So but he has a lot of cool things as well, and he's got some preparation things. He's definitely very, very nice to have when it comes to preparing for adventures. He's got cartography skills, so he can study ahead, and he can have specific bonuses and stuff when it comes to some travel things on knowing where to go. Luckily, again, Kyrian's in the party, so he knows Eriador better than that. But in Wilderland, that came in some handy in being able to sit down and prepare for those things. But yeah, he's very scholarly as well, so that's kind of what he does. So he's pretty sweet. Definitely like Valinith. As far as the session goes, it was a really good session. I was very curious on seeing how we were all going to get brought together in this grand adventure that's gonna be happening. And man, freaking Kyrian, I feel so bad for him with the past that he has. But it's cool. I understand now where he's coming from. I feel like this party is going to give Valinith a really big opportunity to grow as well because you have two stout, steadfast warriors who are here, which are very different than like Theodric, Jess, and Feanor, because they also kind of like Valinith were just wanderers who got thrown into it. They weren't specifically warriors designed to fight against the shadow. And so it's going to be very interesting moving on and learning from them. Again, Valinith's all about the learning. Seeing his mother obviously is always a great time, but yeah, just getting to learn more about just this party and some of the lore about Eriador during this time in Middle Earth is pretty cool. Anything else off the top of my head? I mean, kind of like Noom was saying, one thing that I really love about Adventures of Middle Earth is it's so narrative driven. Yes, it may not be the most action packed and action oriented every single session.
Yeah, it's not a battle every session.
No,
sure.
But like the story itself is great. It's like murder mystery. Wilderland Adventure currently is murder mystery, but no, I mean it's being able to sit down and think things through in the world of Tolkien, using the Tolkien lore that we're all very much aware of, depending on how much Tolkien lore you actually know. And of course, we have an amazing resource in Kyle if we don't actually know what's going on, depending on
And
how
if
we
I
roll.
don't know, I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. But it's great. I mean, I love the world of Tolkien. I love the world of Lord of the Rings. And it's a treat getting to play a character that actually gets to interact within the world. And to be fair, it's a great treat to be able to have some good brotherly time with both Cole and Kyle. Because obviously Kyle lives in Japan, Cole lives in Florida, I'm in Colorado. We can't just get together and hang out all the time. And so this is a really good bonding opportunity, I feel, as well. So I cherish these moments more than just the stream that it is. So really enjoy it. So that's
Me too. Also, I wanted to say I liked Caliphere's backstory of how he got here.
yeah, it was sick, wasn't it? I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this dude's a beast.
Freaking Caliphere. Well, and you also have to take into consideration too, again, because it's a very like low fantasy setting. It is like level 4 adventures, which is what you guys are. Like you're amongst already like some of like the most skilled of the world. And so the fact that like if you think about like Kyrian as a Dunedain, so what is he, like 49 or something, like
Yeah.
like 49 years old? He's a veteran in his craft. He is like there like amongst some of like the most deadly Dunedain that there are. Valineth is an elf. Well, not only is he over 700 years old, but like he is like a skilled marksman and healer, and he experienced a lot in Wilderland, and he grew a lot from his experiences. From being sheltered, he grew a lot in like just such a small amount of time to being able to hone his skills. And then Caliphere is literally like a captain of men, and so like he's like a guy who's in charge of basically leading legions to war against other people, and so against other creatures and people of shadow. And so his whole mindset is he's very dedicated to his lord, but he is also kind of like a for justice, but not quite the same as like a Valineth for justice.
For justice.
Yeah, he's more of like a serious like warrior, like hardened guy for justice, but he's also the way he's designed to. So I guess that's a good segue into what Kyrian is, or a Caliphere. He is very much designed for. He's like the equivalent kind of like a paladin in AME. He has very high defense. He's a tank. That's what he's designed for. He has like an armor class of 18. He has like the ability. He has a lot of defensive stuff, and so he can. He has like protection, which basically, if allies within 5 feet of him get hit, he can use his reaction to take the hit instead. He has the many foes, which we saw in the previous battle last episode, where if there's multiple people that are attacking him, he can use his reaction to increase his AC. I think it's by his proficiency bonus. So right now it's to 21 or 20. 20.
God.
And so like he can increase his AC to 20, and that'll go up in time as the party levels. And he also has another thing called the Challenge of the Silver Swan, which basically we saw again, where he can call somebody out and be like, you will fight me and only me until like the end of battle, and the creature gets a disadvantage on basically all checks, attacks, whatever the case, damage against anybody that he doesn't attack, but also if Caliphere, and that's for a minute, I think. And if Caliphere doesn't switches targets, that goes away too. But basically, it just gives like it draws like the attention from other party members. So, for example, Squishy Valineth to like target him. And then Bright Blade he has, which is the ability to just like increase his hit with his sword. To be able to just like whack. I think it's like by his charisma modifier, which right now it's a +3, so he gets a +3 to hit with his weapon. So it's kind of like what Dane was saying. It's like the important thing is like as long as you're hitting every turn or most turns, it takes you a long way in this game. So he's got that. So he's not like going to be quite the damage dealer as Kyrian. He's not definitely the healer that Valineth is, but he is there to absorb damage. In regards to his backstory, yeah, I'm excited to dive a little bit more into it with you guys. But yeah, the freaking black ships from the Corsairs of Umbar, they have also made their way into Eriador. So it's not just wicked men of the north, but the men of the south have the black Numenorians have started to come into Eriador
I'm
as
curious
well.
about that. I know nothing about that, so
So,
I'm excited to learn more about that.
Yeah,
The
it's,
Black
really cool.
Numenorians.
This is a good also mixture of the so for those who don't know, Adventures in Middle Earth is a Cubicle 7 creation. It stopped production I think in 2019. So it was like from 2016 to 2019 they were making Adventures in Middle Earth and then they stopped it. But they picked up a new one by a different company that they are doing Middle Earth role playing game, and so I'm drawing from the Eriador sections of both games, and so you're getting
Nice.
basically like the entirety because where they stopped the Wilderland or not Wilderland, where they stopped Adventures in Middle Earth was before they started kind of migrating more southwards, and so in Adventures in Middle Earth there's nothing for Gondor. There's like a region guide for Rohan, but very little for Rohan. Southern Eriador, there's like almost nothing. But yeah, and so like the Middle Earth role playing game they picked up from where they left off, and so they were able to input the missing stuff from Wilderland Adventure, so they're very cohesive in that way. And so like now like the entire Eriador is very fleshed out with like pre-written adventures for these characters to be able to run, to be able to go through. And so there's lots of stuff that's coming in the future, but look forward to it. But yeah, as far as the session goes, it was good. I really enjoyed it. I always have an idea for the sessions, and they usually tend to follow kind of the ideas, but I love the way that you guys role play it and like the things. That's why I want to give like lots of options for you guys. It's like, all right, do you actually want to go like confront your past, Kyrian, or are you not ready yet, or like things like that. And so like I like how like that kind of pads out the session, and again just the way that fate works with getting that nat 20 at the yeah, it's freaking sick. So yeah,
My
very,
like
very cool
one
stuff.
of 3 good rolls all.
It started off rough. I think within the first 4 rolls, like it was like a 6 was like your highest.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of these days, I don't think Calefear had a single roll this session.
It's okay.
One day he was
His
he was
role
unconscious.
unconscious.
Yeah, he was unconscious, and his role was to get us on the next venture.
True.
Technically wasn't a physical dice roll, but it was a roll.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I also really like. I didn't expect the whole like creating of the fellowship thing that you guys were doing. Like
That was so funny.
You have my bow, you have my sword, and my shield. Nah, it's good. And just like it's cool being able to like be commissioned by Elrond. Like Elrond's the one to send you off on your adventure as opposed to. And I really like the Wilderland one because it was like everybody found each other and decided to be bound together, kind of like your typical D&D, but the fact that like this group is specifically commissioned by Elrond to go seek something out with. Everybody has, to a degree, stakes in it too. Valineth obviously is serving his lord, Elrond. Kyrian already has like his duty to basically take down like any evil leadership that there is, and Calefear has his basically purpose of going to save his kidnapped comrades in the form of Arphonath and Frothian. So yeah. So little explanation for those two. Arphonath, he is a like an emissary. He's a diplomat of the Lord of Dol Amroth. And so he's basically brought on, or an emissary is brought on every Gondorian expedition wherever they are, because they believe like you settle things with words, and if that doesn't work out, then you go to war. And so they brought him. He was kidnapped, and then everybody else died except for Frothian, who is basically a young armor bearer that belongs to Calefear. So
I don't think he's alive. He got shoved in a troll bag.
He did get shoved in a troll bag. That's true.
He's gonna get squished to jelly.
That's true. He's gonna get sat on.
Delicious.
Probably.
Maybe this entire time the trolls have been arguing about how they're gonna eat him, and then
Ooh. And then the sun comes up.
It's true. They're stone trolls. They are stone trolls.
I know.
slowing him down. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. So like next session very much will be like the tracking and going forward and figuring out what the dubious deeds of this new captain is. So
Can't wait to say, Valineth, what do you see with your elven eyes?
They're taking the men to Isengard. Nice. If we're going
taking the men to Angmar.
to Angmar. That's true.
That's good. But yeah, this was a really fun session. Dane, do you have anything to talk about before we end it?
Couple quick things. First and foremost, Cole, are you streaming tomorrow or Thursday?
Tomorrow.
Okay. So moving forward, we have a fun schedule throughout the rest of the week. So Kyle, come join Kyle at 4:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time for his Ghost of Tsushima. So those of you who are unaware, 7:30 p.m. JST. So those of you who are unaware, we have 2 Adventures in Middle-earth campaigns that are going on, and they switch off on weeks. So the first and third week, it's Eriador Adventures. The third and fourth week, it's Wilderland Adventures. If there's a 5th week, something special is going to happen, or there's going to be a break. So do not worry about that. It's going to be very consistent, hopefully moving forward when it comes to that. But Kyle's stream time oscillates on Wednesdays and Tuesdays depending on which specific AME session is going. So this is normally his normal stream time that he streams his Ghost of Tsushima and whatnot, but that gets moved to Wednesdays. So that's at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Come join Cole tomorrow for some Fire Emblem 3 Houses at 2 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. He is finally in the time skip, and it's going to be sick. It's already been sick so far, but he's got to go and destroy Edelgard and all of her evil deeds and doings. So come join him for them. Yeah. She's the worst. And if you are a big fan of tea, come join as well. Cole's a big fan of tea as well.
And I can have caffeinated beverages this time.
That's true. That is true. You can have your green tea.
Hooray for Easter.
Yay.
Alleluia.
He is risen.
He is risen.
Yeah.
He's risen.
But Thursday I will be back with some Elden Ring. We're going to be going to get the Moonlight Katana. Those of you who don't know, we chose the samurai class in homage to Kyle playing Ghost of Tsushima, and it has been interesting. But we're going to go get the Moonveil Katana, which is a sweet arcane katana. So that's what we're going to be doing. Probably going to die a lot. Friday, nothing. We have no Everlast. We have none of that. However, we do on Saturday have some more what's it called? My stream, 2 p.m. We're going to be streaming some more Elden Ring, which is going to be fun. And then the week ahead, Kyle's going to be continuing to play some Ghost of Tsushima. We have our AME for Wilderland Adventures next week. It's going to be pretty sweet. We have an amazing sponsor, Dai Snacky, Japanese sweets and luxury treats. You'd be wacky if you don't buy Dai Snacky, as Papa Forge says.
I have to remember that. That's great. You'd be wacky if you don't buy Dai Snacky.
But no, they're awesome. They're a small family business based in Tokyo, Japan, and they sell Japanese luxury sweets and treats. And unfortunately, their spring boxes are over. They are finished. So those of you who got those boxes, hopefully you enjoyed them. But they have an amazing omakase box, which is just your normal snacks and treats that you can get. But they also have kawaii boxes, which include like anime goods, or you could choose to get like a Nintendo box or a Pokemon box or like a Disney box, which is pretty sweet. Again, free international shipping. And then there's like a little section upon checkout where you can like type in Fantasy Forge sent me, and that's how we get the credit for that. So don't forget to put that, because otherwise we don't get any credit for it, unfortunately. But also make sure to put your Twitch username as well, because you get raffle tickets to use when we hit a certain referral limit. We're going to be giving away a box on the channel. We've already done one of those. We did that during our 3-year anniversary stream, which was pretty sweet. One of our amazing community members, Caro, got one, so that's pretty sweet. And we have some exciting things coming up for merch store. We have a new merch store where we've officially started putting some stuff in for Everlast in there, so go check that out. The links are down below, and they should be appropriate and they should work this time. We have all of like the new t-shirts and designs in there, and they're just much better quality. But I don't know if I should mention anything about it, but we have a new really cool partnership of Everlast and a coffee company to come. So those of you who are Java drinkers, we're going to be having some promotional Everlast exclusive coffee as well coming up. To TBD, to be determined on when that's going to be. I'm still designing packaging, and we're still doing all of that, but it's going to be pretty sweet. So stay tuned for that. Aside from that, I can't think of anything else unless anyone else has anything to say.
That's a very full coverage. So,
All right.
yeah, very, very happy to do that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I know, Cole, you probably got to get to bed, but Dane, you got to have dinner. But I will catch you all next week, tonight, whenever I see you all. But God bless you all. Pray for each other. Pray for me. Praying for you guys. But may the road go ever onward and onward. And I will see you guys next week for some more Adventures in Middle-earth. Bye, everybody.